This is Fleet Week Spectacular Friday on KPIX and CBS News Bay Area.
Welcome to Fleet Week Spectacular Friday. We are getting the big events for this weekend started right here on CBS News Bay Area. The parade of ships now getting ready to sail under the Golden Gate Bridge and into the bay. Good morning. We are coming to you live from the St. Francis Yacht Club. I'm Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Ryan Yamamoto, and what a gorgeous and perfect day to take in this Fleet Week Friday. We remember last year when it was freezing cold and a lot of fog, and we could not have asked for better weather today. And for the past week, we have brought you the stories of the people in the Navy, the Marines, and the local responders who work side by side with our military. This is all part of our coverage of what Fleet Week means to this community. And we can't wait to share their stories with you throughout the day.
And of course, later on today, the Blue Angels, the stars will roar across the sky. We'll bring you that live right here on CBS News Bay Area, and that starts at 3 p.m. Now, of course, members of our team are giving you the sights and sounds on this Fleet Week Spectacular Friday. Jessica Birch is out on the Marina Green.
And you don't see this on TV every day. Our very Lauren Toms is right now on the USS John P. Murtha. And Lauren, I think you're coming underneath the Golden Gate Bridge right now. Hey, Lauren.
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. Coming to you from the USS John P. Murtha. And right now, we are literally coming under the Golden Gate Bridge on this absolutely gorgeous day. Take a look at this. You don't see this every day. This ship right now is lined with sailors and Marines ready to enter the port of San Francisco, and San Francisco very much ready to welcome them. I spent the morning on this ship today. It has been an absolutely beautiful morning. I'm told this ship typically houses about 400 crew members, but it can hold about 1,000 crew members on any given day. It's typically used for service member transport, and I believe you can see just in this shot, you can see this chopper. This I'm told is a Super Stallion. It is a CH-53 chopper, also used for service member transport. We, I believe, are the first ship in this parade of ships. And behind us, we are joined by a U.S. Navy destroyer. It is the USS Paul Hamilton. You can see it right there, also lined with our service members. And just behind that, I'm told that we are joined by a Coast Guard cutter. Now, all of these ships right now sailing below the Golden Gate Bridge. It is a breathtaking sight. They're getting ready to greet San Francisco. And guys, San Francisco very much getting ready to greet them right back.
Lauren,
I am jealous. I am so jealous
we're
right now.
We're watching you right now
Yeah.
come under the Golden Gate Bridge.
Wow.
And before we go to Jessica Birch on Marina Green, I just want you to kind of describe for us what it's like to be aboard that ship as you get probably one of the most glorious views in the world, right?
Yeah, I think San Francisco is the most beautiful city in the world, and getting this vantage point, it really brings up a lot of history. Millions of service members, especially during World War II, 1.6 million U.S. service members came in and out of the port of San Francisco. So right now, coming under the Golden Gate Bridge on a U.S. Navy vessel, it is an undescribable experience that I can only tell you very much connects us to a point in history, guys.
No question. You just get goosebumps watching you right now, Lauren, and seeing all of those wonderful servicemen and women line the ship as they come into our great bay and get a view of our great city. It's pretty awe-inspiring.
It absolutely is.
All right, let's get live out to Jessica Birch, who is on Marina Green with a different vantage point of all of this. And luckily, Jess, this year, no fog. What a treat.
Isn't that the best? Honestly, the fact that we're seeing blue skies just in time for the Blue Angels into this afternoon, oh my gosh, it's great. And you know, I'm out here right now live at the Marina Green. Whose idea was it to put the Army girl over at the Career Center? I'm still trying to figure out who assigned me for this, but right now, right behind me, you can see recruiters from everywhere. I mean, ROTC units, all the way from the Army to the Navy, the Marines, everyone's out here in full force right now, just kind of getting the community together and kind of just sharing a little bit about everyone's mission. It's been kind of a treat to be out here this morning with all all these service members, soldiers, everyone across the board, especially the sailors too. But it is a hot one, and I will say this, I am so grateful I am not in my military uniform right now. It is hot, and if you are planning on coming out here, take a look at our forecast heading into this afternoon. 80s in the forecast for us today here in San Francisco, just in time for the start of this air show. Once we head into the next couple days, look at this cool down. I mean, 80s turn into 70s, 70s turn into 60s right around the corner as we head into our Sunday forecast, but mostly sunny across the board, which is just great news for anyone who's coming out here to take their eyes to the skies for that air show. To add to that, the parade of ships is starting right now. I mean, such a beautiful day to really be out here and soak it all in, really support the community and the military service members that we have here too. Here's what we're looking at for daytime highs today. About 15 to 20 degrees above average. Guys, it is hot. Wear the sunscreen. I'm about to put it on myself. To add to that, make sure you are hydrating a lot. It is hot as can be. And last but not least, our high temperatures throughout the whole Bay Area. In case you're not coming out to San Francisco this afternoon, we're sitting in the 90s up near Wine Country, 90s out in the East Bay, 90s all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. So it is a hot one for all of us as this huge, huge heat wave moves its way in. But I will say this, with this heat wave comes clear skies, and as we take a look behind me, blue conditions just in time for this air show, way better than last year when we were dealing with the foggy conditions, and sadly the Blue Angels couldn't even fly 2 of the days. So this is a big change from last year. Super stoked to be out here at the Career Center with all of these service members. I'm excited to talk more about it coming up in a bit, but for now, Liz, I'm going to send it back over to you.
Yeah, Jess, you're in a really neat spot. I know my boys look forward to going there every single year and getting a chance to pretend like they're driving the big trucks and get to work with the robots and meet the different servicemen and women who are so inspiring. Each of them have a great story of why they chose to join the military, like yourself, and you're at a really neat spot. Also, there's really good food.
Yeah. You can't forget about the food out there. And, you know, with the sunshine out, you know, the Blue Angels are making their practice runs yesterday. They were flying extremely low and fast, and so it should be a spectacular show coming up later on this afternoon at 3 p.m. Thanks, Jess.
Cannot wait for that. Well, of course, this year's Fleet Week is being dedicated to late Senator Dianne Feinstein, who first brought the event here to San Francisco back in 1981.
Yeah, we saw and we heard those Blue Angels soar over City Hall during her memorial yesterday. And during tomorrow's air show, they're going to fly in a missing person formation, all in Feinstein's honor. Our very own John Ramos has more on how Fleet Week all began, thanks to then Mayor Dianne Feinstein.
Blue Angel air shows date back to 1950 when the formation flyers buzzed low over the city. The jets were painted black back then because shortly after the show, the unit was disbanded so they could serve in the Korean War. But 30 years later, Mayor Dianne Feinstein got an idea that she said at the time was strictly business.
The Navy is building its fleet. San Francisco is a large ship repair center, and we would like to have more business from the Navy if that's possible.
That's when the Fleet Week we know of began.
It was noon when a squadron from the 3rd Fleet made its entrance into San Francisco Bay.
Channel 5 provided extensive coverage with cameras in the air and on land, where they got reaction from delighted spectators who weren't shy about offering advice.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. My husband used to work in the shipyards.
Well, I don't know how old these boats are, but I presume they're pretty old. I think it's about time we get some new ones and a little bit faster ones.
The Blue Angels were plenty fast, but in following years they were asked to stop flying so low in the city. 1982 flight leader Dave Carroll explains why.
And Dianne Feinstein was the mayor. Apparently her phone rang off the wall with people complaining, wanting to know why these airplanes are flying around the Transamerica building and scaring everybody. But we had huge crowds, and they were appreciative too when we actually flew the show over the bay.
And while Feinstein may have cracked the whip on low-level flying, the event's current executive director, Louis Leuven, says it became a labor of love for her.
I can tell you that she was active with Fleet Week. It was her baby. And she was an honorary co-chair for all of these years. We could go to her for advice, sometimes advice and consent, because she had her hands in it.
From the beginning, and to this very day, San Francisco has turned out to enthusiastically welcome the young men and women of the military. And Navy spokesman Brian O'Rourke says it is appreciated.
That's why San Francisco has become a legendary port visit. Those sailors and Marines go home and they talk about how much of a great time they had while they were here. And all their friends who weren't on that trip, they want to do it next year.
There almost wasn't a next year this year. Congress passed a last-minute spending bill to keep the government operating for a few more months, and Leuven says things got pretty dicey for a while.
Well, what I would say is we were prepared. We had our contingency plans, but there is nothing that feels better than that these sailors and Marines and the Coast Guard and all of the other branches of the service, that they're going to be here. I mean, that is the heart and soul of Fleet Week.
No one knows for sure how much the city has benefited from Fleet Week, but over the years, millions have visited, likely spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So it turns out Dianne Feinstein was right. They did get more business from the Navy, after all.
Just an absolutely beautiful story right there, and that archival footage is great to see. And, you know, yesterday, the memorial service for Dianne Feinstein, and you hear the Blue Angels just buzzing that memorial, and it was like, you had mentioned it was like Dianne was just saying, hello, hello, one last time.
Yes, I mean, I just thought I know it was frustrating for some of the speakers because they were sort of competing with the noise, of course, but it really was so
they were just rolling
fitting.
with it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. It just goes to show the legacy that Dianne Feinstein left on the city that she loves so much, and we have her to thank for this wonderful week and this wonderful weekend, and probably for this wonderful weather, let's be honest.
And you can see behind us right now, you can see the John P. Murtha is now making its way into San Francisco Bay. Still a lot more to come on this Fleet Week Spectacular on this Friday. And coming up, we're also going to include a piece of history hidden in the Marin headlands. We take you to what was considered the first line of defense against an enemy invasion, an invasion that never happened.
We have a victim somewhere in this tunnel right here.
The goal is to be the first team out with that victim intact.
The dirty trick at this year's Fleet Week Joint Disaster Drill that won one of the Navy ships some bragging rights.
And of course, it's a once-in-a-lifetime flight. Check it out. That's our very own meteorologist and pilot, Jessica Birch. She flies with the Blue Angels. She'll join us once again to talk about that experience.
It's pretty crazy just to be flying around upside down.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
We'll give you a look inside her wild ride.
welcome back. We're bringing you San Francisco Fleet Week, the parade of ships, live right here on CBS News Bay Area. Beautiful view as that parade of ships just making its way into the San Francisco Bay, making its way underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. Welcoming us once again here. So let's check back in with Lauren Toms. She is live on the USS John P. Murtha.
Yeah, it's a perfect timing, Lauren. And I know you planned it that way, but you've just crossed under the Golden Gate Bridge. You're on the USS John Murtha.
She just passed right by us.
Right behind us right now, and it is just amazing to watch. And it's huge, the ship that you're on. Can you kind of set the scene and tell us what it's like to be on that ship coming under the Golden Gate Bridge?
Yeah, hey guys, right now I'm on the flight deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Just a couple minutes ago, we came below, right underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. This ship is primarily used as transportation for our service men and women. It can house up to 1,000 service men and women. But right as we were coming under the Golden Gate Bridge, that really serves as a piece of the military history here in San Francisco, which is really rich, and it's something that you can see and feel across the Bay Area. And just a couple weeks ago, I caught up with two volunteers who work in the Marin Headlands, and they're stewards of history, and they told me about Battery Townsley up there, a set of guns that were pointed at the Pacific, and they were there to serve as the first line of defense in the event of an attack that never came on U.S. soil.
Wow. This was actually happening. Yeah, there's 100 and some guys up here on any given day.
Nestled among the Marin Headlands is military history you can touch and feel. It's stuck in time from when it was created as defense in World War II.
This was the real deal. This is as close to the front lines as you got in the United States. They really felt after December 7th. It was just a matter of time before the Japanese hit either here or Los Angeles or mouth of the Columbia, one of those important strategic ports. San Francisco seemed to be a no-brainer.
John Martini and John Prince are stewards of history. As volunteers for the National Park Service, they oversee and educate about Battery Townsley, a set of massive guns that were originally aimed toward the Pacific, positioned atop cliffs in the North Bay.
As amateur historians, we just get a kick out of doing the best we can to interpret this idea or this area and let others know that something did happen here.
But the action in this area stopped at preparation.
Nothing happened here. There were no battles fought. That's one reason the National Park Service is preserving these sites, is for posterity to tell the story for future generations.
And on the Marin side, from the headlands there at the Golden Gate Bridge, all the way out to Point Reyes.
Had it not been for the 1972 Congressional Act establishing the Golden Gate Recreation Area, the pair says history could have been lost to developers.
For all the men that came here, some that left here and never came back, and things of that nature. It's history. Like we keep saying it, don't we, over and over. It's history, and if you don't like history, don't come.
Despite its lack of combat, more than 1.6 million soldiers were shipped from the port of San Francisco and into the Pacific Theater.
One way in and out. It's called the Golden Gate. So from a military point of view, it doesn't come any better than this.
No, you couldn't draw it up any better, and here it is already.
For Martini and Prince, it's now about educating generations.
As much of a kick out of educating the 70 and 80-year-olds who wander by here as I do the 8-year-olds. There's some hope that the next generations will do their best to make this still be available.
A living reminder to learn from our past to prevent conflict in the future. Now, it was such a pleasure to really explore that part of the tangible history of the military history here in the Bay Area. Once again, more than 1.6 million U.S. service members traveled in and out of the port of San Francisco during World War II. And that the inner workings of that battery up in the Marin Headlands, it's part of the National Park Service. That is free and open to the public. And both Johns actually give tours of that space the first Sunday of every month. But right now, we are just getting an absolutely stunning view of San Francisco right now on this beautiful day. Right now, we are flanked by fire and police boats helping transport us into the San Francisco Bay. But just take a look at this view right now. We are the sailors and Marines are getting ready to salute the city of San Francisco. Guys, this view right now, breathtaking. I can only imagine what it looks like from your vantage point over there.
It's
we're
spectacular.
waving to you right now. We're waving to you.
It truly looks like it. It's a
I'm
Chamber
waving
of
right
Commerce
back.
Day. There you go. I can see you.
We can see you. We can see you.
And Lauren, it's interesting. You know, this is such a fantastic opportunity for you to be on the USS John P. Murtha, but it's a bit of a feat to get actually on the ship, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what you had to go through this morning just to get on the Murtha?
Yeah, well, the John P. Murtha is actually a newer version of the USS Harper's Ferry, which we joined last year. Now, that ship was really difficult to get up and onto. We were climbing up some ladders. We were climbing up a lot of stairs with all of our gear. This year, not nearly as difficult. There was a ramp that led us onto the ship. We walked up a couple of ramps, and here we are on the flight deck, joined by dozens and dozens of our sailors and Marines. So not too difficult this time around, but I have seen some of the inner workings of this ship, and you know, guys, it does not look too easy to navigate. So I think our place is out here on the flight deck, nice and safe with our service members.
And going back to your story, I mean, what a beautiful shot that was of the Marin headlands and all that deep history we have up and down our coast. And I do recommend, if you do get a chance to go out to the Marin headlands, or even just up and down the coast in some other areas, you see these batteries all over the coast of California. They're just so fun to explore. You go up to Fort Funston, go down through some of the tunnels. They get a little frightening, sometimes,
sure.
But it's just fascinating to see what was built along our coast during World War II.
Yeah, and I want to go have a tour by one of the Johns.
Yeah.
I want to see, hear the interesting stories about what it was like to be here during that time. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of anticipation, a lot of fear, but to just have this area still be preserved so we can still talk about that point in our history is pretty remarkable. All right, Lauren, we're going to check in with you in just a couple of minutes back at the USS John Murtha. And I'm watching you, Lauren, and this is pretty cool. You're getting a fantastic view.
So as Fleet Week continues, we all know it's not about the spectacle in just the sea and the sky.
That's right. Our Itai Hott explains it has a very practical purpose.
Go. When Navy Petty Officer Matthew Willman first heard he'd be going to San Francisco for Fleet Week, he imagined nights on the town and drinking like, well, a sailor. Let's go tear this up. He thought he knew the drill. Instead, he was handed one.
Right now we're learning how to use all these different tools to break up the concrete. I've never touched any of this stuff before, so it's a lot of fun.
Matthew is taking part in a Fleet Week emergency preparedness exercise at the San Francisco Fire Department training facility on Treasure Island, a joint effort between SFFD and members of the Navy and Marines.
They really didn't tell me much. They told me to be ready by 6:30, and we got all the gear you're going to need in a bag, and just get ready. It's going to be an all-day event.
The drill includes learning how to stabilize collapsed buildings and lifting giant slabs of concrete.
It is super important to have.
Janine Nicholson is the chief of the San Francisco Fire Department. These exercises, she says, are what Fleet Week is all about.
There is a whole lot more to Fleet Week than just the Blue Angels, which are incredible. Part of that is preparedness and making sure that we are training with our state and federal partners to ensure that we are ready for whatever happens.
And while the Navy is learning how to fight fires and earthquakes on land,
we can find weak spots on the deck.
The SFFD got a lesson on how to battle fires on ships.
We have a victim somewhere in this tunnel right here.
The joint exercise culminated in a friendly competition between two Navy vessels, the USS Paul Hamilton and the USS John P. Murtha.
We've got a tunnel with a couple of concrete walls inside there. The goal is to be the first team out with that victim intact.
Lift up his waist! The pressure to secure this year's bragging rights is on.
Is it good enough to cut now?
Matthew is determined to bring back the title for the Hamilton team.
Let's go.
It's a high-stakes rescue with no rules and no holds barred. A test of skill, speed, and thinking fast on your feet. But then, the Murtha team, in a daring move, stole Hamilton team's stretcher.
Go.
You might think tensions would rise fast. But instead, The two groups just fight it out. In the end, the Hamilton team gets the stretcher and the victim.
I think they did a little bit of cheating holding the basket, but we were able to get it off them. We got the stronger dudes, of course. But that's a big dub. That's a victory.
Having fun during Fleet Week while shoring up a win for preparedness.
Don't worry, man. You're going home tonight.
They are incredible, that
yes,
crew.
They are.
Well, there's still a lot more ahead on this Fleet Week Spectacular Friday, including a Bay Area veteran who was part of a top-secret mission that ended in tragedy and inspired an iconic scene in a famous Hollywood movie.
The guys were fighting each other for a room on a raft. Well, I'm not going there.
His story of survival coming up. Welcome back to our live coverage of the Parade of Ships, all leading up to the Blue Angels later on today on this Fleet Week Spectacular Friday. And of course, the Blue Angels will be the stars of the show, showing off their jaw-dropping stunts.
And our very own Jessica Birch, who is a pilot herself, was able to hop on a plane with them for a little bit of a test flight.
Yeah, here's what that really looked like. There she is, look at Jess, cool as a cucumber, nothing phases her. She's going to tell us a lot more about what it was like being on that plane in just a little bit.
But first, she has another story to tell us about another Bay Area local who got to have a chance of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Hey, Jess.
Hey guys, how's it going? We're out here live right now at the Marina Green at the amazing Career Center, and there's so many recruiters out here right now. I actually just found my recruiter that got me into the Army National Guard here in California, and that's why I fly Blackhawks. But you know, we are talking about Kyle Archer. He's a really amazing teacher who's been such an inspiration for many people up in a high school in Napa, and we're actually going to share a story right now about how he took flight as he went up with the Blue Angels earlier this week on Wednesday. Check this out.
Say cheese, 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Say cheese, say come home safe, Daddy.
As a teacher and coach at Napa's Vintage High School, Kyle Archer is used to helping students soar. But today, he's preparing to do it himself as the Blue Angels key influencer for Fleet Week.
Thumbs up.
In addition to teaching college prep and honors English, Kyle leads Vintage High School's community service program. and he helps oversee the AVID program, where he mentors 60 first-generation learners to prepare them for college and careers.
I've been there for 9 years, and I just try to put in the time every day and help as many people as possible.
Kyle has been nominated twice for Napa Valley Teacher of the Year, but it was his brother who nominated him for this once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Just luck of the draw, made it through the process, and just feel very grateful to be here today.
Lifelong dream?
Oh, 100%.
Love you, buddy.
Just growing up with a brother, I mean, like a lot of little boys, was playing Top Gun growing up, watching the movies and going to the air shows growing up. So getting to actually go in the jet once in a lifetime.
And it'll probably take a lifetime to pay his brother back for what happened next.
I've watched some videos. The takeoff looks pretty cool if we just jump right up. I know I'm in good hands, so I'm just going to go along for the ride, do the best I can.
Kyle is still giving the thumbs up when he came back to Earth, which is always a good sign.
You made it. Thank you again.
High fives from the fam? Not so much. By the way, Kyle is also a coach for Vintage High School's varsity football team, which probably came in handy when he took a hit from those G-forces.
It's funny, you feel your arms go limp and you come to and you're like, I think I'm going out. And they're like, no, you went out a little bit. Maybe feels like a rough Saturday morning after college or something like that, but other than that, I feel pretty good. Definitely would do it again.
Well, Kyle flew right before me with the Blue Angels. He had such a great experience. His family was there supporting him, and you know, there's nothing like flying the speed of sound, or even better than that, pulling as many G's as he did, which was around 7, by the way. I'm going to have more about my flight experience coming up in just a little bit. We had 360 photos of it. It was such a great experience flying up with the Blue Angels, and they're actually going to take the skies today at 3 o'clock. Stay tuned for that. I'm currently getting recruited by the Navy, so I'm going to go talk to them for a little bit, but for now, I'm going to send it back over to you guys.
I'm already enlisted.
Yeah,
I'm already enlisted.
You can join all of them. Okay, thanks, Jess.
Re-enlist.
Well, much more ahead on this Fleet Week Spectacular Friday. As Jess said, we're going to show you more of Jessica's flight with the Blue Angels in just a few minutes, including audio of her reaction.
She is such a pro.
This is Fleet Week Spectacular Friday on KPIX and CBS News Bay Area.
Welcome back. We are coming to you live from the St. Francis Yacht Club, bringing you the spectacular parade of ships to kick off our Fleet Week Spectacular Friday. Good morning, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is just the teaser because later on today, we're going to have the Blue Angels flying overhead and flying across the bay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And our very own Jessica Birch has already flown with them this week, and we'll be seeing some of her flight in just a minute.
Meanwhile, this is one of the final air shows for one of the Blue Angels who grew up right here in San Francisco. Lauren is still at sea. Well, you're in the bay now, but Lauren, you had a chance yesterday to catch up with him.
Yeah, hey guys, for the second year in a row, I spoke with hometown hero, Lieutenant Commander Scott Goosens. He's the #4 pilot of the Blue Angels, so keep an eye out on the skies later today and throughout the weekend when they do come out. But this is his last year as a Blue Angel. I've learned that you can only be a Blue Angel for 2 years, but he has a very special person taking his place next year.
This is the show I have circled on my calendar every single year.
For the last time as a Blue Angel, Lieutenant Commander Scott Goosens will be flying over his hometown of San Francisco.
Getting up in the jet, flying over the bay, seeing the Golden Gate Bridge, seeing my house, high school, all that. It felt like a dream, you know, a dream come true, if you will.
Piloting jet #4, Goosens is taking a flight down memory lane while roaring over the city he grew up in.
It really is kind of a full circle moment for me. I remember as a kid watching these blue and gold jets flying over the bay, just like we're about to do here on Thursday. I remember being in school, no kidding, looking out the window and the jets would be whizzing by, and the teachers had no chance of keeping our attention on them, so they'd let us go outside and watch the jets. And I just remember thinking it was the coolest thing in the world.
It's a bittersweet experience for Goosens, who will be returning to his fleet after the season wraps. But even more special this year is flying in honor of the late Senator and San Francisco Mayor Dianne Feinstein, who brought Fleet Week to the city in 1981.
This whole weekend is pretty much in her honor. She is a major reason why Fleet Week came to San Francisco. Not only someone who loved her country, but really loved the city of San Francisco and did so much to get Fleet Week here.
The team this year includes the first female Blue Angel, Lieutenant Amanda Lee, and after Goosens' season ends, she'll be flying in his #4 position next year.
She's here because she's qualified. She's not here because she's a woman. She's incredibly qualified. She's a great pilot. That's why we selected her.
For Goosens, it's more than a new member of the team, but a role model for his own young daughter.
I have a daughter, 2-year-old now, so it's an incredibly great thing to see. And for my daughter to be able to kind of look up and see somebody in this role and know that that's something that they can do.
It's a message he shares with any aspiring pilot as he says goodbye to the job he calls an honor of a lifetime.
Now, something Lieutenant Commander Goosens told me when we spoke yesterday was that most of the time our service members are out of sight, out of mind. And so Fleet Week really serves as an excellent reminder and celebration of the service and the work that these service members are doing all over the world every day.
Yeah, what an incredible hero there.
Lauren, quick question. Does Lieutenant Commander Goosens, does he plan on maybe doing a quick little flyby over the Sunset District?
Oh, she might have lost us there, but what a great story.
I think he should buzz his old high school, St. Ignatius. Why not?
Just to give him a little bit of a scare there.
Okay, well, now let's throw it back to our own pilot and our own meteorologist, Jessica Birch.
Yeah, and Jessica, you learned what it's like to go up in one of those Blue Angels planes. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh. It was so amazing, guys. Going the speed of sound on a casual Wednesday, oh my gosh, I will never forget the experience of flying with the Blue Angels this week. But here's the thing, I'm a military pilot too, and I had to start somewhere, and I'm actually joined right now with my recruiter originally in the California National Guard. This is my dear friend, Major Boatwright. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. So, crazy story real fast. I want to share this with you guys. I didn't even expect to see you today. Honestly, I saw his face and my face lit up and I jumped up and down. He has inspired me so much to come out here to the California National Guard. I called you back when I was in college.
Absolutely. Senior in college.
So explain to me a little bit about what the process is like for, students like me at that time, how they can get to where I'm at, especially doing the part-time ordeal.
Absolutely. Well, first I'd say just reach out to a recruiter, somebody that can walk you through the steps. It is a process, the physical process, the educational process, and there are individuals like me in the California Army National Guard that are here to help you through that process. But I'd say stay determined, stay motivated, and reach out to somebody like myself that are at these events.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for getting me to where I'm at. I'm not even kidding. I wouldn't be a Black Hawk pilot for the National Guard here in California if it wasn't for you.
Good to see you.
Really, really appreciate it. So anyways, what are you guys are out here doing outreach right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We're out here just recruiting. Most are bringing awareness to the community, kind of explaining some of the different things that we have in the California Army National Guard.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being out here. I'm so sorry it's so hot. I forecasted this earlier. Why didn't you get the memo?
We're good.
I'm just kidding. We can't wear short sleeves. But anyways, it was great talking to you.
you.
We'll talk more soon. All right. So the forecast is hot out here. I'm not going to lie. I'm about to put sunscreen on. But earlier this week, I did get to fly with the Blue Angels. And being a helicopter pilot, I'm not going to lie, that was the coolest thing I think I've ever done aviation-wise. Take a look at this real fast.
Push, but then we're just going to hang out upside down.
Okay, cool.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go, Jess. Rolling to the left. And there's the uncomfortable push.
Oh.
But that should be really it. But now you can just kind of look around. Pretty crazy just to be flying around upside down.
This is so cool.
Yeah. So now you can imagine number 4 trying to fly formation like this off a bus.
This is crazy. You can't do that in helicopters.
Jess.
It was absolutely amazing. You know, flying with Lieutenant Commander Thomas Zimmerman, the number 7 pilot for the Blue Angels, was outstanding. And today we're going to be seeing him here at the Marina Green, live at 3 o'clock, flying over our skies of the Bay Area. I'm so excited to see him.
Jess, I know you're a pilot. You also fly helicopters also, but what was the G-forces like flying in it's an F-18, right?
It was an F-18, yeah, it's the Super Hornet that the Blue Angels fly, and that's what we're going to be seeing today. To be honest with you, I only ended up doing 5. I chickened out before we could go to 7, but we did some other cool stuff too, so you'll be able to see that today at 11 also.
I don't think you
That's
chickened
5 more
out
than I would have done.
at all. And I got to know, when you went upside down and you were looking at the scene below you, what was that like? Was it just kind of unnerving? Was it amazing?
My gosh. You feel everything just kind of shift upwards. I mean, you even saw in that video, my sleeves went upwards too. And I never thought I'd have an aviation experience like that. That will forever be one of the best days of my life, which just casually happened this Wednesday. So I'm excited to share that story with everyone at home.
You were such a
just
pro.
an everyday Wednesday for Jessica.
You know,
whatever.
I went 5 Gs though.
Yeah. Well, if you want to ride along with Jessica in 360, we'll have that full experience for you next week on our YouTube page.
And meanwhile, our Matt Lively will be flying on Fat Albert during today's air show. That's that big plane right there. And don't let the C-130's portly appearance fool you. That thing can go. Hopefully Matt knows what he's in for. Fat Albert, by the way, carries everything from spare parts to the pilot's luggage.
It has big bones.
That's
and don't
right.
forget,
It's
we will
curvy.
bring you the Blue Angels live later on today. That happens at 3 o'clock. Right here on CBS News Bay Area.
Well, much more ahead on this Fleet Week Spectacular Friday, including a look at another pilot you'll see overhead today.
There's nothing like buzzing the Golden Gate Bridge in downtown San Francisco legally.
This Bay Area native tells us about everything that goes into the routine you'll see later on today.
And he went through one of the most harrowing experiences of World War II, and he lived to tell about it. Now he's the last who can tell about it. Aboard the USS Indianapolis survivor, Harold Bray shares his incredible story of survival. That's coming up next.
You are looking live at the parade of ships just cruising through the San Francisco Bay. You know, just a normal Friday. Pretty neat to see. We got to see the USS John P. Murtha. That's where our Lauren Toms was, followed by the USS Paul Hamilton and 2 Coast Guard ships. And a Navy veteran from Benicia was actually invited as a special guest on this year's Parade of Ships.
And as our John Ramos reports, he went through one of the most harrowing experiences of World War II and is now the last survivor remaining to talk about it.
In July of 1945, the war in Europe was already over when a ship left Mare Island in Vallejo carrying a secret cargo that the military hoped could end the war with Japan. It was the USS Indianapolis, and if you know what happened to that ship, it's probably because of one scene in a very famous movie. An American flag flies over the Benicia home of Harold Bray. At age 96, Harold is a patriotic Navy veteran, his living room adorned with paintings and memorabilia from the only ship he ever sailed aboard, the USS Indianapolis. It was 1945, and Harold was 17 and had just left boot camp. When you shipped out on the Indianapolis, did anybody have any idea that they were going to have this really important mission?
It was just a trip out of Mare Island. But we took on a bunch of kids, and I was one of them.
The ship left Mare Island carrying a secret weapon, the most secret weapon of all, the first atomic bomb, nicknamed Little Boy.
But I'll tell you what, I sat on the box before there was on the quarterdeck. And
you sat on the atomic bomb?
Yeah.
The cargo was delivered safely, but it's what happened afterwards that people remember the Indianapolis for, all thanks to a gripping scene in the movie Jaws.
You were on the Indianapolis?
What happened? Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. 1,100 men went into the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes.
I don't know how I was so lucky. I just hit the side and swam away from the ship. Then I hollered for guys. I just happened to find a raft, and I got aboard 18 guys on my raft. The guys were fighting each other for a room on the raft. Well, I'm not going there. I'll hang on to somebody that's hanging onto the raft. So that's what I did.
Very first light, Chief. Sharks come cruising. So we formed ourselves into tight groups. Lost 100 men. I don't know how many sharks, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many men. They averaged 6 an hour.
It was a bad experience. So there wasn't good about it. Every time you looked around and somebody was gone, the sharks were there. That was a terrible scene. The sharks, you got a few young guys. Yeah, I don't talk about it.
Out of a crew of nearly 1,200, only 318 survived. Because the mission was secret, no distress signal was ever sent. They were in the water for 5 days when a plane happened to spot the men, and they were picked up and taken to a hospital on Guam.
I wasn't hurt. I wasn't hurt at all, except memories. You know, there's a lot of guys I helped in the water that were hurt, and it just are always there. The guys that didn't make it.
It hasn't been easy. Harold says he still thinks about it nearly every day. Later, he came home, became a Benicia police officer, and raised a family. But his wife Stephanie says he still never talked about it to anyone.
When Jaws came out, the movie, they were talking about it at the police department, and he happened to be in the room, and he says, I was on that ship. And that was the first, that they ever knew.
But then the survivors began planning regular reunions, and Stephanie said it helped for them to be around people who truly understood.
And very healing, too, for them, because they had been instructed by the Navy, go home and forget about it. Don't even talk about it. His parents never knew.
Time, of course, has taken its toll on the crew, and when a fellow shipmate recently passed away, Harold became the sole remaining survivor of USS Indianapolis. In July, Benicia thanked Harold for his service to his town and country with a life-size bronze statue of that young sailor fresh out of boot camp.
Do you feel like you're a hero?
No, I saved myself. I helped a lot of guys, but that was the thing to do. You live with them, and I didn't do anything spectacular.
My father fought in World War II, and like Harold, he rarely talked about it. He said you didn't talk about it because you don't know what the guy on the bar stool next to you went through. I think he met a guy like Harold Bray.
And he truly was a hero, just an amazing and both terrifying story. And we do remember back in 2017, the USS Indianapolis, the wreckage was actually found in the Pacific, so they now know where that ship went down.
Wow, what a story. What a gift he gave us by sharing that with us.
We're giving you a live look right now from the John P. Murtha, beautiful shot of the chopper and the city skyline there. But just to wrap up this story, the Navy never asked Harold to sail again, and to this day he says he's not comfortable on the water. So Harold is, well, he's going to stay on land today to view the parade of ships.
I hope he's here today.
Yes.
Well, much more ahead on this Fleet Week Spectacular Friday. Another local pilot is getting ready to soar across the San Francisco Bay. How he comes up with his routines and what he says are his favorite stunts. Welcome back to our special coverage of the Parade of Ships. We are here at the St. Francis Yacht Club, best seat in the house, and we just watched the ships go by.
Yeah, definitely the best seats in the house for the Parade of Ships and for the Blue Angels that happens at 3 o'clock. But you know what? The Marina Green is also a good place to be during Fleet Week, so let's check back in with Jessica Birch for more on what you'll see out there.
You know, right now I'm still at the Career Center. I can't get away from this place. I kind of want to get re-recruited. Is that even possible? I'm already a military officer, but seriously, we are out here right now at the Career Center. It has been so much fun getting to see all these service members just out here in full force. I kind of feel bad. I mean, it's hot out here. The temperatures today hitting the upper 80s, and these men and women, they're wearing long sleeve right now. I'm so grateful I'm not wearing my uniform right now, but here's the thing. Earlier this week, Greg Collier, he's one of the pilots here that are going to be flying really shortly, actually. He flies the T-33. He's doing a solo performance today right around the corner, just around 2:08. So take your eyes to the skies when we actually get to see him. But for now, I just want to introduce this story. He's a really amazing pilot here in the Bay Area. He's a local. He was born and raised here in San Francisco, lives up in the North Bay now. Check this story out.
am so stoked for Fleet Week San Francisco. It's a great opportunity for the Bay Area to support our military and those that serve.
Around 1 million airshow fans are coming to the Bay Area this weekend, and as they look up, they will be in awe of one Bay Area local. Meet Greg Collier.
There's nothing like buzzing the Golden Gate Bridge in downtown San Francisco legally and putting on a great show for everybody in the city. And being a San Francisco native, it's my favorite show in the country.
Greg was born in San Francisco and now lives in the North Bay. But he keeps his airshow planes at a hangar just outside of Sacramento. So to get there, it's sometimes quicker to fly from San Rafael to the Yolo County Airport. This is his T-33 Shooting Star, a stunning addition to the airshow with a lot of history attached to it.
First flew in 1948. It became our frontline fighter and trainer for 50 years. It served over 50 years in the military.
Since 2008, Greg has been flying in the San Francisco Fleet Week Airshow. And while it's a lot of fun, there is also a lot of work to pull off these jaw-dropping routines.
And I looked through the manual on all the maneuvers it was capable of doing, and I just put them together so it flowed really nice, and that's how I came up with my routine.
And when asked his favorite maneuvers,
I opened the show diving in with a knife edge photo pass, and the crowd loves it. I'm low, the plane's banked up, I'm close to the crowd there.
So as you take your eyes to the skies this weekend, keep an eye out for Greg and that shooting star, as his flight reminds us that
anybody can make their dreams happen if you just don't give up.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm a little bit more excited to see him fly this year just because he's such a dear friend of mine. But the Blue Angels are pretty cool too, and earlier this week I actually got to fly with them. Coming up in a bit, you'll be able to see more of that 360 footage as I took to the skies with the Blue Angels this week, and they're amazing aircraft. But Greg, oh my gosh, such an amazing pilot. We're gonna be seeing him up here pretty shortly. Back to you.
Yeah, I loved his message. Don't ever give up on your dreams.
Jess, were you able to do any acrobatics with them?
Exactly. So last year I did it with Greg, and this year I did it with the Blue Angels, and I'm not gonna lie, neck and neck. Both experiences were absolutely amazing.
I bet. I can't wait to see that.
Another
Blue
typical
Angels.
Wednesday for Jessica Birch.
Yeah, just, no big deal. All right,
Absolutely.
Jess. All right, well, stay with us. We'll have much more from your Fleet Week Spectacular Friday when we come back.
Well, welcome back to this beautiful morning on this Friday for Fleet Week Friday. You just watched the parade of ships. This is a live look at the John P. Murtha as it just made its way underneath the Bay Bridge.
Yeah, it was a pretty spectacular morning. We watched the John Murtha, as you saw there, then followed by the USS Paul Hamilton, and then 2 U.S. Coast Guard cutters. And there's nothing more spectacular than watch them come through the Golden Gate Bridge, lined up as they are welcomed into the San Francisco Bay. And we really lucked out with the weather. I mean, last year we were freezing. Today, the weather could not have been more perfect. It's warm, and if you're thinking about coming out to see the ships today or maybe the air show later on this afternoon, it's a great day for it. But if you can't make it out today, good news. You can join us on CBS News Bay Area at 3 o'clock for the Blue Angels show. It's going to be amazing, especially since the weather's so great. The skies are clear. They're blue. You're going to be able to see everything.
And that's it for us. So right now we are going to wrap up the parade of ships right here on Fleet Week Friday. We'll be right back on KPIX for our noon show. We'll see you then.